I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't think Harbor's that great. I know a lot of people are talking about how Paper Rex decided to run Harbor on what Fracture, Icebox, and Breeze, as you're about to see here, right? And on Icebox, I don't really think he's great of a replacement for Viper. I just don't. He doesn't have the same amount of utility, the same amount of value that Viper really gets on that map, right? Viper is really oppressive on that map, right? She can molly, wall, smoke 100 times in mid. And Harbor simply just doesn't have the kit to keep up with all that utility, right? He doesn't have that many smokes. His orb doesn't last very long. His cascade doesn't last very long. And it just isn't fair to think that a Harbor can just slot into Viper's like role so easily and just replace it as well as and play it as well as she would, right? So I know a lot of people are talking about it. To be honest, don't think it can happen, at least on Icebox. On a map like Breeze, where this map obviously is like kind of attacker sided. It's a lot of executes, right? Defaulting a little bit, then going into executes, it's attacker sided, and Harbor's kind of the retake slash run it down type of agent. I think on maps like Breeze and Fracture, while it may not work as well as Brimstone, maybe at first, I think that over time we could see some Harbor being worked into these team comps, right? And these maps that people are talking about, and the map that you're about to see now, was actually played on the patch where Harbor only had one cascade, right? So even then, we might see more of him after this, right? So, and Harbor on this map is pretty good. He's good at applying pressure towards A main. He can wall through cave and through shop. He can apply pressure B main by walling off, B main or cascading down it, right? Kind of works similarly to Breach's stun, like his cascade. So like he can, push it down, or his high tide is really good at wrapping around sites. He can do like a whole bunch of things. He can wall for his teammates in halls while he's still on site. He can throw his cascade up halls. He can cascade like a whole bunch of different places. I honestly think that Harbor is just really good, and his ultimate's really good too on this map. It gives you a ton of information. It gives you a lot of firing power, and you can sort of just execute and run over teams on sites with his ult. So on Breeze, I think Harbor, I think you can make it work, right? I don't think it's as effective as Viper, but a team like Paper X really like to run it down and be aggressive. I definitely see some potential there. So we're going to be looking at a match between Paper X and Heretics, and we're starting with pistol round. And nothing too crazy happens here, but I do want to point you at the minimap where you're going to see a three-person push, right? You're going to see Harbor Cascade. It's going to push and flush out mid cannon, or not flush it out, but it's going to cut off cannon so that Jet and Reyna can push and isolate down B main together. And you're going to play it here. Reyna is also going to flash behind the wall, so if anybody gets caught like going through the wall, they're going to get Reyna blinded. Sova's top nest. He starts by reconning down towards cannon, scans up here, so anybody in this area is kind of screwed. And then you see Jet double back, and she's going to updraft and dash into window to try and pinch this window player with Reyna, right? Typically, people love holding back in this window spot because it's really safe. You can hold elbow, you can hold B main, you can peek sight. This spot is a really strong spot if you're an attacker, if you're just trying to hold space or try and lurk and whatnot, right? So Jet, updraft dash, recon dart, cascade, Reyna blind, all of it looks really good. And then towards A, we have Chamber. Devi, he's just trying to get one and get out, play the retake, which is Harbor is really good at. And Heretics tries to go through halls. Devi hits some really nice shots and turns this into a 2v5, I should say. Now, even if Devi didn't get 3, even if he got 1 and got traded out, it's a 4v4, I still think that this retake is going to be really strong. So Jet and Reyna were able to push all the way through B main, push all the way through the enemy spawn, and get ready to flank. So they're coming through shop, they're coming through cave. Harbor, in the meantime, went out, flushed out mid, said no one was here. He comes in through this way, and he has his high tide for the retake. Cuts off bricks, cuts off A main, and then you have Sova coming through bridge. All in all, I think this is a really strong retake, and I don't think, even if Heretics did have more players, I don't think this would have ended well for them, right? And yeah, all in all, Paper X won the round. And starting on pistol round, Harbor's looking like he could be a viable option on this map. Now in the next round, like I love to do these videos where I showcase these new agents and new comps and how strong they are, but I also think it's important that we recognize the weaknesses of these comps, right? And Harbor's biggest weakness, as everybody knows, is his stopping power, right? He has nothing to stall a push, he has nothing to stall really. Nobody respects his walls right now, and I think that's his biggest weakness, and you're gonna see that here. So Heretics got the spike planted, got a bunch of kills, they decided to go for a force. Spectre light armors, Bulldog, Marshall full armor. Honestly, this is a pretty strong buy. And in the previous round, they're going to keep the same setup. Harbor towards B, double duelist push down towards elbow, Sova up here supporting, and Chamber playing on A, getting his and getting out. Harbor throws his wall to stall. Harbor's up on site while Reyna and Jet are pushing down, right? They're trying to get like a flank going off. And Harbor, keep in mind, if this is a Viper, they're mollied, they're whatever, they're getting smoked off. They don't push through the Viper smoke. They don't have a lot of HP. Right? If this is a Viper instead of a Harbor, they probably have a lot harder time pushing through B. And since last round they didn't see Harbor on A, They probably figured that they could get away with a force and just slam B and try and abuse the Harbor's lack of stopping power, right? So with this in mind, Mind Freak has to fall back, play the retake, does find one through the smoke, lucky for him. But regardless, Team Heretics get a free site plant, which is exactly what they want. Mixwell's a really good player, is tearing apart Paper Rex with his Marshall. Boo manages to find a kill with his Bulldog. Well, what I'm saying is, like, you don't really want to give sight to you don't want to give sight to these guys, right? Especially not on their technically eco round. So Paper Rex are trying to go in for a retake, but all in all, it just doesn't work out. Team Heretics got 2 people backed up towards site. Viper was able to wrap all the way around through elbow, so in case this retake doesn't work out, they have like a release valve, right? Sova's backside, everybody's 1 HP. All he has is a Marshall, and this is extremely hard to win if you just have a Marshall in the dream, right? But everybody is 1 HP. They do play Ring Around the Rosie, but at the end of the round, Team Heretics come out on top. So yeah, Harbor doesn't have a lot of stopping power, and I do think that will be part where teams are hesitant to run him, right, for that reason. So all right, so on the next round, I promise we're not going to go over every round, but I do think this is really important. So for the first 2 rounds, Paper Rex just showed that the Harbor has played towards B, and this is where the duelists have pushed down. They pushed down into elbow a couple times. Wherever their Harbor is, that's where they're going to push. Because Harbor's kind of like an initiator with his cascade, right? His wall pushes forward and takes space for you so that your duelists can follow up off it. People who are trying to push through the wall have a hard time fighting through it, and he sets up his teammates pretty well for success, right? And if you look at his ult, it's kind of designed in a similar way. So what Paper Rex decided to do this time is they show this Harbor wall pretty early on A, or on B, I should say. And Chamber is feeding this information to his team over on A. Like, yo, Harbor's walling B, they might push up here, might, take some aggressive duels. And in response, Team Heretics decide, they knife out, they drone. This drone sees 3 people. Sees Jet, Sova, Chamber. They see a bunch of people. Chamber swinging through the wall. They realize, yo, we're running into a stack, right? And the stack almost works out. It almost worked. Paper Rex's their pressure that they applied towards B may or may not, I think it did, force Heretics into going into A, tricked him into it. But Chamber uses his information, realizes, yo, we just got bamboozled. Pushes into spawn, tries to take some space. Viper realizes they just ran into a stack, so she tries to push up into a really cheeky position. This nest angle was like a god spot. If you can lurk up into this area, you can catch so many rotations for people trying to retake B. It's just an unexpected angle, and it's kind of hard to clear with this box kind of blocking you too. But now a really good play from Chamber was he started off on site. He fell back to site actually after trying to push spawn, realized he wasn't going to have any success doing so. So he decides to wrap through B main, wrap through elbow, and get ready to play a really strong crossfire with his Viper, right? He's going to end up there eventually on my X. So Viper's waiting here. She doesn't want to swing because her staying alive here is really important. Her life is applying a ton of pressure. And sometimes that's the best thing you could do is just stay alive. Right, so Chamber walked up into elbow, did a really good job of playing off his Viper, and I think this crossfire kind of won them the round. So now we're down to our hero of the story, Harbor, and a 2 versus 1 against Sova and Chamber. Now, if you've ever used the Frenzy, you know that it is capable of some magical things, as you're about to see here. Gets a headshot on the Chamber, gets a triple dink on the Sova. Now, Mixwell's kind of like, okay, this Frenzy's got some magic powers, right? But time's running down, Mind Freak has no choice but to run at Mixwell, and they lose the round, but it was pretty close. And I think that this little mind game thing that you saw here with the Harbor utility almost worked pretty well and almost won them around. Okay, moving on to round 7, you're going to see the true power of Harbor when it comes to the retake. So Team Heretics decided to push up B. Against this comp, you kind of can do whatever you want. You kind of execute A, B, mid, split, do whatever you want because there is no Viper, right? No one's stopping you. But as you can see, Jet and Sova do a really good job of playing off each other. Jet gets one of their off. She takes contact, and Sova swings out, takes contact, right? Now, for any of you B anchors out there, backside is, honestly, if you're anchoring B, your one job is to hold backside. Without backside, your team is going to have a lot harder retaking. This position right here is arguably the most important part of the site. With it, you just have so much more power in the retake. The enemies can't really play backside that easy. They're kind of limited to just like these 2 areas, right? And it's really hard for them to push up, right? Without backside, you can't really go up to half wall. It's harder to go up into cubby, as you're about to see Sova get a kill here. Without getting punished. So now Harbor's team's like, yo, we're coming in. Harbor ult goes out. Harbor ult gives you all the information in the world. Big lightning bolts appear above your head wherever you are. You see Harbor's wall flood in for the retake. It cuts off site like this, so it cuts off B main, cuts off ladder, cuts off this cubby. None of this matters. The only thing that Paper Rex want is this half a site. So they're funneling through this left side. Rain is throwing blinds out. Harbor cascades up this left side of the site, and I don't know how you're holding this ever in a retake, ever. Sova drone's coming out, you're getting tagged by a Sova drone. With this wall, you could also scale to the other side of half wall. So like you saw it, what does it cut through this way like this? Your team could also go on this side, right? You don't all have to funnel in this left side because it starts from behind half wall. You could go through it and scale in through this way while like most of your teammates are going through this way, right? So it's just a really, really, really clean retake, and that's Harbor's thing, right? Being aggressive and playing retake. All right, so you saw a bit of defense. Now I'm going to show you a bit of offense. So Paper X is on the attack now. The round is 16, and it looks like Paper X is gearing up to go towards B, right? Going up against the Viper. So how do they fare? Random blind goes in through the wall. This random blind is honestly really strong. So usually with KO or Sky, you kind of have to bounce your flash off for a wall. You kind of have to right click it through a smoke. It's just really awkward. But with a random blind, what you could do is throw it through a wall, and then anybody staring at B main is blind. And then Jet smokes out, she dashes out. Nobody's really going to hold or be able to hold the smoke that Viper throws down, right? So right there, you see some pretty cool random value. Harbor wall goes in, Cascade goes in as well. The Cascade is really strong because, as you can see, Chamber, what is it? Cascade goes in, he can't hold that side anymore, so he just gets dookied on. Forsaken swings the wall, gets the kill, and like I said, this backside control is really important. The way that you hold it is really important. Viper doesn't realize that somebody can walk up behind her, and right there, it was a pretty clean hit. You saw that the Cascade get a ton of value. It prevented Mixwell from peeking around, getting some free kills and trying to like bob and weave, right? It completely isolated him from his Viper on site, and Jet pushed through. She got a nice kill. Pretty small, but you see Harbor right there getting some pretty good value out of his hits. All right, let's take a look at another execute. Round 22. B side again. They must have made some form of adjustment where the Viper wall goes across, and they're kind of playing more towards this retake. Now, this is the thing with Harbor. Do you notice how it's 10 seconds into the round, and they're already out B? I don't know about you guys, but if there's a Viper playing on B, it usually takes a lot longer than that to happen. And all the utility looks really nice. So I'm going to rerun this just a smidge, just so we can see all the utility that goes down. Harbor wall. Also, keep in mind, Harbor's wall can be used multiple times around, right? It recharges after every 40 seconds. So if Harbor wants to throw his wall up once, gets stalled, you can regroup and reset and redo it again, right? You don't have to commit your wall to one site like Viper does. He's a lot more flexible on the offensive side than Viper would be. So it's just something to keep in mind. But Jet peeks, throws a smoke. Again, random blind goes out, really strong, plus a Harbor wall. And this is a different Harbor wall. It's different so that it gives you less of sight, but it isolates the amount of angles that you really have to worry about. You don't have to worry about half wall. You don't have to worry about this cubby as much. You don't have to worry about this side of pillar. All you have to do is throw your random blind out, get the Silva dart on. I'm pretty sure the wall might block the dart. If it does, that'd be really cool. And then you just let your Jet go crazy. She can updraft over the wall, get some pretty cool kills. And then this Cascade allows you to swing through the wall and isolate any angles playing in tunnel. All right, let me rerun that just a smidge so you can see that. All right, team goes in, decides to go get more space because Jet is fighting half wall. This Cascade cuts off half wall and isolates anybody in tunnel so your team can swing them all together at the same time. Again, really strong exec from Team Paper X. But round's not over. Let's see. Let's watch this retake go in. So Sova coming in through spawn. Like, this is just hard. Like, I don't think this is even possible. I think this looks like a save round. But that's what you might think. Zeke gets an early kill, knife back sight, knows that nobody is ladder, and Jet has no knives and is isolated towards, what is it? My team calls it gravy. I don't know why, but trades are going in. 2 versus 3. Benkai's missing shock darts, but it happens, and they all double swing, and they all swing at the same time. Boo gets some crazy shots, and now he's in a 1v1 against the Sova. With the recon dart, oh boy, that was really close. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. After I saw the exec, when I first watched through this VOD, I kind of just skipped through it thinking they lost. I did not know that the round ended that way. That is crazy. So, really cool retake. Awesome. But let's go watch some more Harbor. All right, this is the last round we're going to go through, and it is another B hit. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see a whole lot of A execs and whatnot. Paper X really do favor this B side. But you should have seen a good amount during the intro and whatnot when we were playing this footage in the background. And if you want to play Harbor on Breeze, watch this game. They do a really good job at utilizing his utility. Now, this is a really cool B split. So previously, they just did this exec where they'd use this Harbor wall, the arrow goes back sight, but you can see all the utility is the same, right? Besides the random flash. So they're using all of this utility as kind of like a fake, right? This Harbor ult's going down, they know exactly where they're at. Harbor swinging through the ult, Viper and whoever else is on site, Jet has to keep moving, and she has an op. Keep that in mind. I know a lot of you still don't know what Harbor ult does, but it creates this big semi-breach ult, kind of like a big circle, and anybody standing in it gets pulsed on by like these lightning bolts. And if you stand in them, you get stunned, you can't move. And when you're opping, you could see when this becomes problematic, right? When you're a Viper trying to molly and get ready to shoot people at the same time, it's a lot harder than it looks. But what isn't as hard as it looks is winning Breeze with Harbor, and Paper X did a really good job here. Again, I don't think he's going to be that great on some maps, especially Icebox, where Viper is like that staple, or like I know some Paper X replaced Viper and Sage on the map and tried to just run Harbor. I don't think that's possible. I don't think that's, I mean, it's probably possible, right? But I don't think you're just making things hard on yourself. So go run some Harbor in your games. I think he's pretty decent. And yeah, hopefully you guys learned something in this video. I know I did. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Take care.